And of course you were just mentioning it there, but you've done a lot of work with Elton John, and I think the interesting thing with Elton is the fact that he kind of had like the same core group in his band for quite a long time, like Nigel Olsson on drums, Davey Johnston on guitar. So was that kind of a unique situation for you to kind of be the new guy in the band?
Well, it was unique because those two guys were still in the band, and it was and I replaced Bob Birch, my friend from Detroit, who passed away. And so it was kind of an emergency situation. And I joined in, had a couple days to learn everything and just went out and did it. And it was bittersweet because Bob was a really good friend. Um, but also, playing those bass parts. Dee Murray was the most incredible bass player, musician. We're very underrated. So playing his bass parts for all those years was an honor, and it was just really amazing. And I remember when I got in the band, I only had a couple days to learn everything. So I remember I was out with Rick Springfield at the time in Vancouver, and I said, I'm doing this. I'm gonna leave, and I'm doing this other gig, which he was really cool about. And so all I did was I was going to write, I had two friends of mine write the charts out because it was 2.5 hours worth of music. And I got, how am I going to do this? So I had my friends write out the charts. And then I'm going, I'm not going to be able to bring these charts up there. I'm going to have to memorize this. So I remember walking around Stanley Park in Vancouver over and over, just listening to this gig, right? So I knew every part that Bob was playing and I was ready. So I got out there. First gig was great. Everything was good. And that was another one of those moments where I'm looking at him and and the weird thing with the gig with Elton is you're standing right next to him. So you're his line of sight of whether the gig's good or bad. If he freaks out, you're right there and you got to deal with whatever's going on. If it's a great gig and he's playing something and he's like a kid, he's like, he's like this excitable kid when he plays stuff and he looks at you and wants you to go, man, that's great. That's amazing. He needs that feedback thing. So I figured that out right away that I'm that guy for better or worse. I'm right there. And and I just remember about the fourth gig, we're doing like a Beatle exit of the gig that we always do. It's as soon as the gig's done, you get in the cars, the limos, and you go to the planes, and then you're taking off. It's just an amazing organizational thing they have going on. And I remember we're in the van, and then Elton called Davey and said, "Hey, Elton wants to talk to you." And I go, "Yeah, what's going on?" He goes, "I just want you to know you're doing a great job, but I don't want you to feel like you have to play like whoever played before you. I just want you to play whatever you want to play, and I want you to be happy." And I was like, "I love this guy. Just be you. Don't screw up. But just play, improvise every night." And that's what we did every night with that guy. He would play it different every night. No click tracks. I had to sing all the high parts and just and the funny thing is Elton loves to play songs faster so he can get to the next city, but Nigel wants to play things the record tempo. So I remember talking to Bob about this, that there's this disparity between the two, that you're the middle guy. So you can't just schmooze Elton and rush and play with him, and you can't play too far back with Nigel. You got to be the peacekeeper here of this band, which is the gig. That's every gig is there's something like that going on. So it's taught me that you got to be adaptable to every situation and you got to try and make everybody happy as a bass player. Bass players aren't like guitar players where they're superstars, look at me. You're kind of keeping the fort together. So it was pretty amazing to jump into that gig and do 12, 13 years with it. And then the last farewell Yellow Brick Road tour was pretty huge. And it was just one of those things, man, that I would just pinch myself and just go, thank you God for letting this thing go like this. The career goes like this, and when it goes like this immediately sometimes too, but it's so far it's been an amazing run. So yeah, it's a long answer to say it was an amazing experience.
For sure. And it's interesting you bring up the farewell Yellow Brick Road tour. I've checked out like the because of course on Disney Plus they have the Dodger Stadium show, which I think does a great job of kind of showing like how big that stage is and how complex everything is like from a production standpoint. But was that kind of a like maybe an odd experience of like, here's Elton, he's one of the most successful artists of all time, and this is his final tour. Was that like a different sort of vibe for you to be a part of something like that?
I mean, it was sad in a lot of ways, but I think that Elton went out the way that he wanted to go out in that capacity, and that's huge. You know, that whole tour was huge, and we did that tour right after COVID. We finished it up, and we did a lot of shows, you know. So I think he went out on his terms, which was great. We're still doing gigs. We're doing one-off gigs all the time with him. Whenever I can do it, I do it. It's and every you think of it as going to be like a small one-off gig, but it's with the last one-off we did was at Petco Park, in San Diego. So the guy doesn't do anything small. It's just this big thing, and it was kind of a little bit. I think it hit everybody when the last gig in Europe, because we did Dodger Stadium, but then after that we went to Europe and finished up gigs there. And I remember the last gig, they lined up the crew along the wall so that when Elton would always come out in a golf cart and walk up to the stage because his hips, he was having problems with his hips. So and then there was this long procession as we're walking up to the stage of like 50 guys from the tour, all the sound guys and lighting guys. That hit me kind of like, okay, it's like anything, you get older and you know that you're closer to the finish line than you are to the beginning, and everything plays out. But it's in the playing out of it that you have those moments where you capitalize this time, this moment. And I remember seeing all the guys and girls with tears in their eyes, and it was like, this is really over, as everything can be. So it was kind of humbling with that. But it was a great experience, and I've got nothing but good things to say about everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.